Linda Martinez sat at her kitchen table with a cup of coffee getting cold in her hands. The morning sun came through the window, but she did not notice it. Her mind was busy with thoughts that had been growing for months. Something was wrong. With her marriage, and she could feel it in her bones, Jack had left for work early again. He said he had important meetings, but Linda knew better. After 15 years of marriage, she could read her husband like a book. The signs were all there. Clear as day, he came home late almost every night now. When she asked about his day, he gave short answers and looked away. His phone buzzed at strange hours, and he always took it to another room to answer. Linda was not a stupid woman. She had finished college and worked in business before she married. Jack, she knew what men did when they got bored with their wives. The question was not if Jack was cheating. The question was what she would do about it. She walked to the window and looked out at their big house with the perfect lawn. Everything looked so normal from the outside. Jack's black car was gone from the driveway. The neighbors were getting ready for work. Mrs. Johnson next door waved at her, and Linda waved back with a smile that felt like plastic on her face. Jack Martinez was the CEO of a successful company. He worked hard and made good money. They lived in the best part of town. Linda had everything she could want: a beautiful home, nice clothes, expensive jewelry. But she did not have her husband's love anymore, and that hurt more than she wanted to admit. Last night had been the worst yet. Jack came home at almost midnight. His shirt was wrinkled and she could smell perfume on him. Not her perfume. Something light and sweet that made her stomach turn. When she asked where he had been, he said he was working late with clients. But his eyes did not meet hers when he spoke. Linda had pretended to believe him. She had smiled and asked if he was hungry. She had acted like the perfect wife, just like she always did. But inside, her heart was breaking into small pieces. She thought about her options while she washed the breakfast dishes. She could confront Jack directly. She could scream and cry and demand the truth. But what would that get her? A messy fight, probably a divorce, and the end of the life she had built. At 42 years old, Linda was not sure she wanted to start over with nothing. She could hire a private detective to follow Jack and get proof of his affairs. But Linda already knew the truth. She did not need pictures to prove what her heart already told her. Jack was sleeping with other women, maybe more than one. Maybe it had been going on for years. The phone rang, breaking her thoughts. It was her sister Carol, calling from California. "Are you doing, Linda?" Carol asked in her cheerful voice. "I'm fine," Linda lied. "Just having my morning coffee. And how's Jack? Still working those crazy hours?" Linda felt tears start to form in her eyes. "Yes, he's very busy with work." "Men work too hard these days," Carol said. "At least you have a good husband who provides for you. It's not like my ex-husband, who could never keep a job." After Carol hung up, Linda sat down at the table again. A good husband who provides for you. That was what everyone saw when they looked at Jack. A successful man who took care of his wife. They did not see the cold distance between them. They did not see how he looked through her like she was invisible. They did not see him checking his phone during dinner or making excuses to leave the room. Linda had married Jack when she was 27. He was 30 then, already climbing the ladder at his company. She thought she was lucky to catch such an ambitious man. He was handsome with dark hair and green eyes. He made her laugh and told her she was beautiful. They had big dreams together about their future. But somewhere along the way, those dreams had faded. Jack got busier with work. Linda stopped working when they moved to the big house. She tried to be the perfect wife, but perfect was never enough. Jack always wanted something more, something different, something new. Linda walked to their bedroom and looked at herself in the mirror. She was still attractive at 42. Her brown hair was styled nicely and she kept herself in good shape. She wore the kind of clothes that expensive wives were supposed to wear. But when was the last time Jack had really looked at her? When was the last time he had told her she was beautiful? She opened Jack's closet and looked at his expensive suits hanging in neat rows. Everything about Jack was neat and organized. Except for his affairs, apparently. Those were messy and careless. The perfume on his shirt last night proved that Linda sat on their bed and thought about the early days of their marriage. Jack used To bring her flowers for no reason? He used to call her from work just to hear her voice, used to hold her hand when they walked together. When had all of that stopped? She could not remember exactly. It had happened slowly, like watching paint dry or grass grow. Now Jack barely touched her except when he had to. Like when they were at company parties and had to look like a happy couple. Even then, his hand on her back felt cold and distant. Linda wondered if the women he was seeing now made him feel excited again. Did he bring them flowers? Did he call them just to talk? The thought made her angry, but it also gave her an idea. If Jack needed excitement, if he needed someone new and different, maybe Linda could give him that. Not by changing herself. She had tried that already, and it did not work. But maybe she could control who Jack spent his time with. Maybe she could choose someone who would not threaten her marriage or her comfortable life. Linda stood up from the bed with new purpose. She was not going to be a victim anymore. She was not going to sit around crying while her husband made a fool of her. If Jack wanted to play games, then Linda would play too. She would play to win. She had always been good at solving problems. This was just another problem that needed a creative solution. Jack needed a woman to make him happy. Linda needed to keep her marriage and her lifestyle. Maybe there was a way to give them both what they wanted. The idea was crazy, but it was also smart. Linda smiled for the first time in months. This time, it was a real smile. Linda spent the next 3 days thinking about her plan. She needed to find the right woman for Jack. Someone young and pretty, but not too smart or dangerous. Someone who would not fall in love with him or try to steal him away completely. Someone Linda could control. The answer came to her when she visited Jack's office on Thursday afternoon. She had brought him lunch, something she used to do years ago when they were happy. Jack seemed surprised to see her, but he smiled and thanked her for the food. While Jack ate his sandwich, Linda watched his secretary, Amy Chen, working at her desk outside his office. Amy was 28 years old, with long black hair and dark eyes. She was beautiful, but in a quiet way. She dressed nicely, but not too fancy. She seemed serious about her work and spoke politely to everyone. Linda had met Amy a few times before at company parties, but she had never really paid attention to her. Now she studied Amy like she was solving a puzzle. Amy looked tired today. Her clothes were nice, but not expensive. She ate a simple salad for lunch while working at her computer. After Jack finished eating, Linda walked over to Amy's desk. Amy, right? Linda said with a warm smile. I'm Linda Martinez, Jack's wife. Amy looked up from her computer. Yes, Mrs. Martinez. It's nice to see you again. Please, call me Linda. I was wondering if you'd like to have coffee with me sometime. I don't get to talk to many people during the day, and Jack always speaks so highly of you. Amy seemed surprised by the invitation. That's very kind of you, Mrs. Linda. I would like that. They met for coffee the next Friday at a small cafe near Amy's apartment. Linda had chosen the place carefully. It was in Amy's neighborhood, not the fancy part of town where Linda usually went. She wanted Amy to feel comfortable. Amy ordered just a regular coffee, while Linda got an expensive latte. They sat by the window and talked about simple things at first. The weather, Amy's work, how busy Jack had been lately. He works such long hours, Linda said. Jack tells me you're always there when he needs help with important projects. Amy nodded. I enjoy my job. Mr. Martinez is a good boss. He works very hard. Sometimes I worry that he works too hard, Linda said. He seems so stressed lately. I wish I could help him more, but I don't understand business like you do. Linda watched Amy's face carefully. She could see that Amy cared about Jack's well-being. That was good. It meant Amy had feelings that Linda could use. Over the next few weeks, Linda made coffee with Amy a regular thing. Every Friday afternoon, they would meet at the same cafe. Linda was patient and careful. She listened to Amy talk about her life and slowly learned what she needed to know. Amy lived alone in a small apartment. She had moved to the city 3 years ago from a small town in Ohio. Her parents were divorced and her mother was sick with diabetes. Amy sent money home every month to help with medical bills. She had student loans to pay, and barely had enough money left over for herself. Amy worked hard and dreamed of starting her own business someday. She had ideas about opening a small consulting company, but she needed money to get started. She was smart and ambitious, but she was also struggling financially. "I don't know how I'll ever save enough to start my own business," Amy said one Friday. "By the time I pay my loans and help my mom, there's nothing left." Linda nodded with sympathy. "It must be so hard to take care of everyone else and still try to build your own future." "Sometimes I feel like I'm stuck," Amy admitted. "My job, but I want more. I want to be successful like Mr. Martinez." Linda saw her opening. Jack didn't start with money either. He worked very hard, but he also had help from people who believed in him. Sometimes successful people need to help others who have potential. Amy looked interested. "What do you mean?" "Well, Jack has always said that good people deserve good opportunities. He's helped other employees start their own businesses before. Maybe you should talk to him about your ideas." Amy shook her head. "I couldn't do that. He's my boss." "It would be inappropriate." "Why?" Linda asked. "Jack respects you. He trusts your judgment. I think he would want to help someone as dedicated as you." Linda planted these seeds carefully over several weeks. She also began talking about Jack differently. During their coffee meetings, she painted a picture of a lonely, hard-working man who needed understanding and companionship. "Jack has so much pressure on him," Linda would say. "Sometimes I worry that he doesn't have anyone who really understands what he goes through at work." "Seems to handle stress very well," Amy replied. "He does, but I can see how tired he gets. He needs someone who understands business, someone he can talk to about work problems. I wish I could be that person for him, but I've never worked in his world." Linda also began mentioning her own limitations as a wife. She was careful not to sound like she was complaining, but she wanted Amy to see that there were gaps in Jack's life that needed filling. "I try to be supportive, but sometimes I feel like I don't know how to help him. When he talks about work, I don't understand half of what he's saying. He needs someone smart like you who can really listen and understand." Amy started to see Jack differently after these conversations. She began noticing how hard he worked and how much responsibility he carried. She started staying late at the office more often, not because she had to, but because she wanted to help him with difficult projects. Linda watched this happening with satisfaction. Amy was becoming emotionally invested in Jack's success and well-being. That was exactly what Linda wanted. One Friday in November, Linda decided it was time to be more direct. They were sitting in their usual spot at the cafe when Linda brought up Amy's financial struggles again. "I've been thinking about what you said about wanting to start your own business," Linda said. Amy sighed. "It feels impossible some days. I've been looking at the numbers, and I would need at least $50,000 to get started properly. I don't see how I could ever save that much." Linda leaned forward. "What if I told you there might be a way?" Amy looked confused. "What do you mean?" "Well, Jack and I have been talking. We both think you have real potential. We've been wondering if there might be a way to help you achieve your dreams." "I don't understand," Amy said. Linda smiled softly. "Let me ask you something, Amy. Do you think Jack is happy?" The question surprised Amy. I think he works very hard. Maybe too hard." "He does. And I think he's lonely, even though he has me. He needs someone who understands his world. Someone who can be there for him in ways that I can't." Amy was starting to look uncomfortable. "Mrs. Martinez." "Linda, not sure what you're suggesting." "I'm suggesting that maybe we can help each other," Linda said quietly. "You need financial support to build your future. Jack needs companionship and understanding. And I need to know that the people in Jack's life care about him and won't hurt him." Amy stared at Linda for a long moment. "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" Linda nodded slowly. "I'm saying that maybe there's a way for everyone to get what they need." Amy put down her coffee cup and stared at Linda across the small table. Her hands were shaking slightly, and her face had gone pale. "I can't believe you just said that," Amy whispered. "You're asking me to be with your husband?" Linda kept, her voice calm and gentle. "I'm asking you to think about it. I'm not talking about anything cheap or dirty, Amy. I'm talking about a business arrangement that could help all of us. Amy shook her head quickly. This is crazy. I could lose my job. I could get in serious trouble. With who? Linda asked. Jack owns the company. I'm his wife. The only people who matter are sitting at this table right now. Amy looked around the cafe nervously, as if someone might be listening to their conversation. I don't understand why you would want this. Why would a wife want her husband to be with another woman? Linda had prepared for this question. She leaned forward and spoke in a soft, understanding voice. Because I love my husband, and I want him to be happy. And because I'm realistic about what men need. But don't you get jealous? Don't you want him to yourself? Of course I do, Linda said. But I also want to keep my marriage. Amy, Jack is going to be with other women whether I like it or not. He's already been unfaithful. I can either pretend it's not happening and lose him completely, or I can make sure he's with someone I trust. Amy was quiet for a long time, thinking about Linda's words. Steadily, she spoke. Even if I wanted to do this, and I'm not saying I do, how would it even work? Jack doesn't see me that way. I'm just his secretary. Linda smiled. You're not just anything, Amy. You're a beautiful, intelligent woman. And I think Jack has already noticed you more than you realize. What do you mean? I've seen how he looks at you when he thinks no one is watching. I've seen how he stays late at the office when you're working. Jack likes you, Amy. He respects you. With a little encouragement, those feelings could become something more. Amy felt her cheeks getting hot. She had wondered sometimes if Jack saw her as more than just an employee, but she had never let herself think about it seriously. This is so wrong, Amy said, but her voice was less certain than before. Is it? Linda asked. You would be helping a man who works too hard and carries too much stress? You would be providing companionship to someone who needs it. You would be securing your own future at the same time. You keep talking about money, Amy said. How much money? Linda had been waiting for this question. $5,000 a month, on top of your regular salary. Plus, Jack and I would invest in your business when you're ready to start it. We're talking about $50,000 or more. Amy's eyes widened. That was more money than she had ever imagined having. With that kind of money, she could pay off her student loans, help her mother with medical bills, and still have enough left to start her own business. And what exactly would I have to do for this money? Amy asked quietly. Be there for Jack when he needs you. Spend time with him. After work, listen to his problems. Help him relax. Make him feel appreciated and understood. You mean sleep with him? Linda nodded. That would be part of it, yes. But it's not just about sex, Amy. Jack needs emotional support too. He needs someone who cares about him as a person, not just as a boss or a husband. Amy was quiet again. Thinking about everything Linda had said, the money was tempting, more tempting than she wanted to admit. And if she was honest with herself, she did care about Jack. She had always admired him and enjoyed working with him. What about you? Amy asked. How do you fit into this arrangement? I would know that Jack is being taken care of by someone I trust, Linda said. I would know that he's not out there with random women who might try to steal him away or cause scandals, and I would keep my marriage and my life exactly as they are. You would stay married to him? Of course. Jack and I have been together for 15 years. We have a life together, a home, a business. I'm not looking to end my marriage, Amy. I'm looking to save it. Amy thought about her own life, the small apartment, the constant worry about money, the dreams that seemed impossible to reach. This arrangement could change everything for her, but it could also destroy her reputation and her self-respect. I need time to think about this, Amy said. Of course, Linda replied. This is a big decision, but don't take too long. Jack needs someone soon, and if it's not you, it will be someone else. Someone I might not be able to trust or control. Over the next week, Amy could barely concentrate on her work. She kept thinking about Linda's offer and what it would mean for her future. She looked at Jack differently now, noticing things she had never paid attention to before. The way he smiled when she brought him coffee. The way he always thanked her for staying late. The way he sometimes seemed lonely even when he was surrounded by people. Amy also thought about her mother's medical bills and her own student loans. She thought about the small business she wanted to start and how impossible it seemed without help. Linda's offer could solve all of these problems at once. On Thursday evening, Amy was working late again when Jack came out of his office. Most of the other employees had already gone home. "You don't have to stay so late, Amy," Jack said. "The report can wait until tomorrow." "I don't mind," Amy replied. "I know you need it for the morning meeting." Jack smiled. "You're always so dedicated. I don't know what I'd do without you." For a moment, they looked at each other in silence. Amy felt something pass between them, something that made her heart beat faster. Maybe Linda was right. Maybe Jack did see her as more than just his secretary. "Mr. Martinez," Amy said softly. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. And you can call me Jack when we're alone like this. Do you ever feel lonely? Even when you're surrounded by people?" Jack looked surprised by the question. "Sometimes." "Why do you ask?" "I was just wondering. You work so hard and carry so much responsibility. It must be difficult sometimes." "It is," Jack admitted. "But that's just part of the job." Amy nodded. "If you ever need someone to talk to, someone who understands the business, I'm here." Jack smiled warmly. "Thank you, Amy. That means a lot to me." The next day, Amy called Linda and asked to meet for coffee. When they sat down at their usual table, Amy looked nervous but determined. "I've been thinking about what you said," Amy began, "and I want to know more about the details. If I agree to this, what exactly would be expected of me?" Linda smiled. She knew she had one. 3 months later, Linda's plan was working better than she had hoped. Amy had agreed to the arrangement, and Jack seemed happier than he had been in years. He came home from work with a smile on his face. He was more relaxed during dinner and even helped Linda with small tasks around the house. The arrangement had started slowly. Linda had suggested that Jack take Amy to dinner after work to discuss important business matters. She had bought Amy new clothes and told her to look her best. Amy had been nervous at first, but Jack had been charmed by her intelligence and beauty. Within 2 weeks, Jack and Amy were spending 3 nights a week together. They would work late at the office, then go to dinner at nice restaurants. Sometimes, they would go to Amy's apartment afterward. Jack told Linda he was working on special projects that required extra time and attention. Linda had given Amy clear instructions. She was to be available whenever Jack needed her. She was to listen to his problems and make him feel important and appreciated. She was to be affectionate but not demanding. Most importantly, she was never to ask Jack to leave his wife or change. Their arrangement, Amy followed these rules carefully at first. She accepted the $5,000 Linda gave her each month and began paying off her debts. She bought nicer clothes and moved to a better apartment. She even started saving money for her future business. Everything seemed to be going according to Linda's plan, but Linda had not counted on human. Emotions being so complicated, Amy began to look forward to her evenings with Jack more than she had expected. He was kind to her and treated her with respect. He listened when she talked about her dreams and goals. He made her feel special and important in a way that no man had ever done before. Jack also began to feel something deeper than just physical attraction. Amy understood his work in ways that Linda never could. She could discuss business problems with him and offer smart suggestions. She made him feel young and excited again. When he was with Amy, he forgot about the stress and pressure of running a company. Linda noticed the changes in both of them. Jack talked about Amy more often, praising her work and her intelligence. Amy glowed when Jack's name was mentioned, and seemed distracted during their Friday coffee meetings. Linda began to worry that her carefully controlled arrangement was becoming something more dangerous. The first real problem came when Jack's business partner, Steve Rodriguez, became suspicious. Steve had known Jack for 10 years and had never seen him pay so much attention to his secretary before. He noticed that Jack stayed at the office late several nights a week and that Amy always seemed to be there too. One evening, Steve stopped by the office unexpectedly and found Jack and Amy having dinner together in the conference room. They were sitting close together, talking quietly and laughing. Amy's hand was resting on Jack's arm. "Sorry to interrupt," Steve said, looking from Jack to Amy with a confused expression. "I came back to get some files I forgot." From Amy quickly, "We were just discussing the Henderson account. It's been a challenging project." "I can see that." Steve said. But his tone suggested he did not believe Jack's explanation. After Steve left, Jack and Amy sat in uncomfortable silence. They both knew that their relationship looked suspicious to outside observers. "Maybe we should be more careful," Amy said quietly. "You're right," Jack agreed. "We don't want people to get the wrong idea." But being careful became harder as their feelings for each other grew stronger. Amy found herself thinking about Jack constantly. She checked her phone, hoping for messages from him. She dressed carefully each morning, wondering if he would notice her outfit. She began to resent the fact that he went home to Linda every night. Was also struggling with unexpected emotions. He had started the relationship thinking it was just a convenient arrangement. Amy was beautiful and available, and Linda seemed to approve. But now he found himself wanting to spend more time with Amy, not just in bed, but talking and laughing together. One night, after they had been intimate in Amy's apartment, Jack lay awake thinking about his situation. Amy was sleeping beside him, her head on his chest. She looked peaceful and beautiful in the moonlight coming through the window. "I wish you didn't have to go home," Amy whispered suddenly. Jack's heart skipped a beat. This was exactly what Linda had warned him against. Amy was supposed to be satisfied with their arrangement as it was. She was not supposed to want more. "Amy, you know I can't stay," Jack said gently. "I know," Amy replied. "But sometimes I wish things were different." Jack did not answer, but he was thinking the same thing. He wished he could wake up with Amy every morning, wished he could take her to company parties as his date instead of Linda. He wished he could tell people that Amy was his girlfriend, not just his secretary. Meanwhile, Linda was dealing with her own unexpected problems. She had thought she would feel relieved knowing that Jack was with someone she had chosen and could control. Instead, she found herself feeling jealous and hurt in ways she had not anticipated. When Jack came home from his evenings with Amy, Linda could smell Amy's perfume on his clothes. She could see the satisfaction in his eyes and the way he seemed, more relaxed and happy. She had wanted Jack to be happy, but seeing him happy because of another woman was harder than she had expected. Linda also began to notice that Jack was less interested in spending time with her. He used to sit with her in the evenings and watch television or talk about their day. Now he often went straight to his study to work or went to bed early, claiming he was tired from his long days at the office. One evening, Linda tried to initiate physical intimacy with Jack for the first time in months. Jack was polite but not enthusiastic. He went through the motions, but Linda could tell his heart was not in it. Afterward, he rolled over and went to sleep without holding her or talking to her. Linda lay awake that night wondering if she had made a terrible mistake. She had wanted to control Jack's infidelity. But instead, she had created a situation where Jack was falling in love with another woman. Amy was supposed to be just a physical outlet for Jack, but she was becoming much more than that. The situation became even more complicated when Steve Rodriguez decided to investigate further. He had not believed Jack's explanation about working late with Amy, and he was worried about his business partner's judgment. Steve began paying closer attention to Jack's schedule and behavior. He noticed that Jack's mood seemed to depend on whether Amy was in the office or not. When Amy called in sick one day, Jack was distracted and impatient all day. When Amy returned the next day, Jack immediately went to her desk to welcome her back. Steve also noticed that Jack had been spending more money lately. He saw expensive restaurant charges on the company credit card and receipts for jewelry and flowers. When Steve asked Jack about these expenses, Jack claimed they were for client entertainment, but Steve was not convinced. He had been in business long enough to recognize the signs of a man having an affair. He was concerned that Jack's personal life might affect their business, especially if there was a scandal involving an employee. Steve decided to talk to his wife Margaret about the situation. Margaret had known Jack and Linda for years and had always thought they had a strong marriage. "Think Jack might be having an affair with his secretary," Steve told Margaret one evening. Margaret was shocked. "Are you sure? Jack and Linda seem so happy together." "I'm not sure about anything," Steve admitted. "But something is definitely going on. I'm worried about Jack, and I'm worried about our business." Margaret thought for a moment. Should talk to Linda. If Jack is having an affair, she deserves to know. Steve was not sure that was a good idea, but he was running out of options. He cared about Jack as a friend and a business partner, but he could not let personal problems destroy everything they had built together. The next week, Steve made a decision that would change everything. He called Linda and asked if they could meet for lunch. He had something important to discuss with her about Jack. Linda sat across from Steve Rodriguez at the small restaurant downtown. Her hands were folded on the table, but inside she was nervous. She had no idea why Jack's business partner wanted to meet with her, but she had a bad feeling about it. "You for meeting me, Linda?" Steve said. "I know this is unusual, but I'm concerned about Jack." "What do you mean?" Linda asked, trying to keep her voice calm. Steve looked uncomfortable. "I think Jack might be having an affair with his secretary, Amy Chen. I've seen them together after hours and something doesn't seem right." Linda felt her heart racing, but she forced herself to look surprised. "That's impossible. Jack would never do something like that. I wish I could believe that," Steve said. "But I've been watching, and the signs are all there. They spend a lot of time together. Jack seems different lately, more distracted, more secretive." Linda pretended to be shocked and hurt. "Are you sure about this? Maybe you're misunderstanding the situation." "I hope I am," Steve replied. "I felt I had to tell you. If Jack is having an affair, it could hurt our business as well as your marriage. You could face sexual harassment, lawsuits, or other legal problems." After Steve left, Linda drove home feeling panicked. She had not expected anyone to notice the arrangement so quickly. Steve was asking questions that could ruin everything. She needed to talk to Amy immediately. Linda called Amy and asked her to meet for coffee right away. When Amy arrived at their usual cafe, she looked worried. "Steve Rodriguez suspects something," Linda said without waiting for small talk. "Thinks Jack is having an affair with you." Amy's face went pale. "What did you tell him?" "I acted surprised and denied everything. But Steve isn't stupid. He's been watching you and Jack." Amy put her head in her hands. "I knew this would happen eventually. Maybe we should stop the arrangement." "No," Linda said firmly. "We just need to be more careful. You and Jack need to keep your relationship completely professional at the office." But Amy was thinking about more than just being careful. Over the past few weeks, she had been struggling with her feelings for Jack. What had started as a business arrangement had become something real for her. She was falling in love with him, and she could tell he was developing feelings for her too. "Linda, I need to tell you something," Amy said quietly. "This arrangement isn't just business for me anymore. I have real feelings for Jack." Linda felt her stomach drop. This was exactly what she had been afraid of. "Amy, you know the rules. You can't get emotionally involved." "I didn't plan for this to happen," Amy said. "But I can't help how I feel. And I think Jack feels the same way about me." "Jack is my husband," Linda said, her voice getting sharp. "He's not going to leave me for you." Amy looked hurt. "I'm not asking him to leave you, but I can't pretend that this is just a job anymore. I love him, Linda." Linda stared at Amy in shock. The situation was spinning out of control faster than she had imagined. Amy was supposed to be a tool that Linda could use to keep Jack happy. She was not supposed to become a real threat to Linda's marriage. That evening, Linda decided she needed to talk to Jack. She had to find out how he really felt about Amy and whether her marriage was in danger. Jack was in his study working on his laptop when Linda knocked on the door. "Can we talk?" Linda asked. "Sure," Jack said, closing his laptop. "What's on your mind?" Linda sat down across from him. "Steve Rodriguez came to see me today. He thinks you're having an affair with Amy." Jack's face went white. "What did you tell him?" "Told him he was wrong, of course. But Jack, we need to talk about what's really going on." Jack looked confused. "What do you mean?" Linda took a deep breath. "I know about you and Amy. I've known for months." Jack stared at his wife in shock. "You know? How do you know?" "Because I arranged it," Linda said quietly. Jack felt like the room was spinning. "What are you talking about?" Linda told Jack everything. She told him about discovering his affairs, about her plan to find him a suitable mistress, about recruiting Amy and paying her to be with him. She told him about the money and the promises she had made to Amy. Jack listened in stunned silence. When Linda finished talking, he sat quietly for a long time, trying to process what he had heard. "You set this up?" Jack finally asked. "You paid Amy to sleep with me?" "I did it to save our marriage," Linda said. "I knew you were cheating, and I wanted to control the situation." Jack stood up suddenly and began pacing around the room. "This is insane, Linda. You manipulated both of us." "Amy doesn't know that you told me, does she?" "No," Linda admitted, "and you can't tell her." "It would ruin everything," Jack shouted. "Everything is already ruined. You've been playing games with people's lives and emotions." Jack was angry, but he was also confused about his own feelings. He had genuine feelings for Amy, but now he didn't know if her feelings for him were real or just part of Linda's arrangement. "Do you love her?" Linda asked quietly. Jack stopped pacing and looked at his wife. "I don't know. I thought I did, but now I don't know what's real anymore." The next day, Jack could barely concentrate at work. He looked at Amy differently, wondering if everything between them had been fake. When Amy smiled at him, he wondered if she was just acting. And when she brought him coffee, he wondered if she was just doing her job. Amy noticed that Jack seemed distant and cold. She was worried that Steve's suspicions had scared him. She tried to talk to him, but Jack avoided being alone with her. That evening, Amy went to Jack's office after everyone else had left. She found him sitting at his desk, staring out the window. "Jack, what's wrong?" Amy asked. "You've been acting strange all day?" Jack turned to look at her.
Hey!
"Amy, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me." "Of course," Amy said, sitting down across from him. "Are your feelings for me real, or are you just doing this for the money?" Amy was shocked by the question. "What money, Jack? What are you talking about?" Jack realized that Amy didn't know that he knew about Linda's arrangement. He was faced with a choice. He could tell Amy the truth and destroy Linda's plan, or he could keep the secret and live with the uncertainty. "Never mind," Jack said. "I'm just feeling stressed about work." But Amy was not satisfied with that answer. "Jack, something is wrong. Please tell me what's bothering you." Jack looked into Amy's eyes and saw genuine concern and love there. In that moment, he made his decision. "Amy, there's something I need to tell you about Linda." Jack told Amy everything. He told her about Linda's plan, about the money, about how their entire relationship had been orchestrated by his wife. Amy listened in shock and disbelief. "She's been paying me?" Amy asked, her voice barely a whisper. $5,000 a month, Jack confirmed. Amy felt sick. "All this time I thought you chose to be with me because you wanted to." "I did choose to be with you," Jack said. "Amy, whatever Linda planned, my feelings for you are real." Amy stood up quickly. "I need to go. I need to think about this." "Amy, wait," Jack called, but she was already leaving. Amy drove straight to Linda's house. She was angry and hurt and confused. Linda answered the door with a smile, but her expression changed when she saw Amy's face. "You lied to me?" Amy said. "You lied to both of us." Linda knew immediately that Jack had told Amy the truth. "Amy, let me explain." "There's nothing to explain," Amy said. "You manipulated me, made me think Jack chose me, but he didn't even know about the arrangement." "Amy, please calm down," Linda said. "Everything I did was to help all of us." "Help us," Amy shouted. "You turned me into a prostitute. You paid me to sleep with your husband." Amy pulled out her purse and threw $5,000 in cash at Linda's feet. "Here's your money. I quit. I'm done with this sick game." Amy left town the next day. She quit her job and moved back to Ohio to be with her mother. She couldn't face Jack or Linda or anyone else who knew about the arrangement. Jack was devastated by Amy's departure. He realized that he had truly loved her, regardless of how their relationship had started. He was also angry at Linda for destroying something that had become real and meaningful to him. Linda was left with the ruins of her carefully planned arrangement. She had wanted to control Jack's infidelity, but instead she had driven away the woman he loved and damaged her marriage even more. For weeks, Jack and Linda barely spoke to each other. Jack slept in the guest room and came home late from work. Linda spent her days alone, wondering if she had destroyed her marriage trying to save it. Finally, one evening, Jack came home and found Linda crying in the kitchen. "I'm sorry," Linda said through her tears. "I thought I was being smart, but I was just being selfish and controlling." Jack sat down beside his wife. "Linda, we need to talk about our marriage. Really talk, not just manipulate and scheme." "I know," Linda said. "I've been thinking about that too." They talked for hours that night. They talked about their problems, their needs, their failures, and their hopes. They talked about the distance that had grown between them and why Jack had started looking for other women. "I felt like you didn't see me anymore," Jack said, "like I was just a provider, not a husband." "And I felt like you didn't love me anymore," Linda replied, "like I was just a convenience, not a wife." They decided to go to marriage counseling together. It was hard work, and there were many difficult conversations. They had to learn how to communicate honestly instead of manipulating each other. Slowly,